The one time I needed her. What happens when the person you protected your entire life turns their back on you the one time you ask for help? Episode 1. The Protector. Most kids grow up believing someone will catch them when they fall. I knew better by the time I was 6. Our father disappeared when we were 5. No goodbyes. Just gone. Our mother? She stayed. Physically. But she was never really there. Addiction swallowed her whole. I was the older one, 2 years older than my sister. And from the beginning, I knew, if not me, then no one. She looked to me like I had answers. Truth is, I didn't. But I pretended. I became her shield, her provider, her wall against the world. We lived in a small 2-room apartment that always smelled faintly of mildew and something sour. The lights flickered in the kitchen when it rained. I used to count ceiling stains instead of sheep. At night, I'd hear our mother cough violently in the next room, sometimes followed by silence that lasted a little too long. My sister slept through it, or maybe she pretended to. I started taking on more than a kid should. At 9, I was walking to the store with coins in my sock, buying canned soup and crackers. At 10, I figured out how to boil rice without burning it. At 11, I stole money from our mother's purse. Not for candy, for food. By 12, I understood things other kids didn't. How to read an electricity bill, how to call and negotiate with landlords, how to stretch $10 over 5 days. I knew that if the fridge had only condiments and a half-empty bottle of soda, it meant trouble. And I learned how to hide fear in my voice so my sister wouldn't hear it. At 13, I got an under-the-table job at a local store. After school, I stocked shelves, cleaned floors, took out trash, came home with sore feet and plastic bags of cheap groceries, then helped my sister with homework, made dinner, reheated leftovers, checked that the front door was locked twice. By 15, I was juggling school, a job, and a life no teenager should be responsible for. I kept our small apartment running while our mother spiraled into herself. She was barely a ghost by then, thin, gray-skinned, eyes sunken. She'd vanish for days. I stopped asking where. My sister was spared from the worst of it. Not because it wasn't there, but because I made sure she stayed just on the edge of it. I would distract her with jokes, push her to study, tell her everything was under control, even when I wasn't sure where our next meal would come from. Teachers at school would pull me aside and ask if things were okay at home. I'd smile and say yes, because what else could I say? That I'd been up all night warming soup for a mother who couldn't stand? That my kid sister only had shoes because I patched them with duct tape? No one came to save us. No grandparent, no social worker, no neighbor. There was no cavalry, only me. She was 2 years younger, but emotionally, it felt like a decade. She was fragile, kind, naive in a way I fought to preserve. I wanted her to believe in good people, safe places, warm homes. Even if I never got those things, she still could. Maybe. I didn't have a childhood. I had a mission. Keep her safe, whatever it takes. But protecting someone isn't the same as being seen. And one day, she stopped seeing me altogether. Episode 2. No time for dreams. We moved out. A small apartment on the edge of town. Peeling paint. Bare walls. But quiet. And no yelling. No alcohol. Just peace. I worked 2 jobs. Cooked. Cleaned. Tutored her. When she graduated high school, I cried. Not because she did it. Because I could finally breathe. She got a job. Paid rent. Moved in with her boyfriend. Eventually her husband. I went back to school. Studied. Worked. Hustled for something of my own. I got the diploma. Landed a real job. A future. A path that didn't involve just surviving. Then came 2020. The world shut down. So did my paycheck. Laid off. Rent due. Bills stacking. I reached out to the one person I had always been there for. My sister. Asterisk. I'm not asking for much. Just a place to sleep. A few weeks. Maybe a month that I'll get back on my feet. She said no. I asked again. She still said no. A week later, I was evicted. I called her again. Told her I was out of options. Still no. And just like that, the only person I ever protected vanished when I needed her most. Episode 3. Homeless. I slept on friends' couches. Rotated places every few days. Eventually found a room to rent. Moldy shower. Cracked walls. For roommates. But it was a roof. Started over. Temporary job. Then another. slowly found my way back. But the damage was done. I fell all the way down and climbed back up, alone. She started reaching out. Texts, voice notes, showed up at my door, left letters. Her husband even wrote me, said it was his fault, that she cried, that she begged, that he said no. By then, it didn't matter. There was no anger left, no sadness, just distance at a door quietly closed. And then, she had a baby. Episode 4, nothing left. She sent pictures, said he's my nephew, said he wants to meet me someday. She begged again, said she hasn't slept since that night, that she thinks of it every day. I feel nothing, no rage, no warmth, just silence. Not every wound leaves a scar. Some just leave nothing. People say I should forgive, that she's family, that we went through too much together to throw it away. But if one no was enough to undo it all, maybe it was never real to begin with. I'm not punishing her. I'm not angry. I'm just done. Asterisk. I was the big brother who could survive anything, until the one time I couldn't, and she wasn't there. And I never looked back. When you spend your whole life surviving, dreaming starts to feel like a luxury you can't afford. After I graduated high school, barely, I didn't even think about taking a break. College wasn't an option. I needed money. I needed a plan. And most of all, I needed to get us out. I got 2 jobs right away. Warehouse by day, delivery driver by night. Nothing glamorous, just back-breaking labor and fast food receipts. I worked until my hands blistered, until my legs went numb, until the only thing I could feel was the inside of my skull pulsing from lack of sleep. We were still living with our mother at that time, though living might be generous. She barely existed in our world anymore. Most days, she stayed behind a closed door. Sometimes we wouldn't see her for 48 hours. Once, I opened the door and found her passed out, face down on the floor. I thought she was dead. I stood over her for a full minute before I could bring myself to check. That was the night I decided, we're getting out. Whatever it takes. And somehow we did. I found a tiny apartment on the edge of town. It smelled like dust and mildew, had creaky floors and ancient radiators. The first night we moved in, there was no furniture except 2 mattresses on the floor and a milk crate for a table. But it was quiet. No yelling. No alcohol. No disappearing acts. Just me, her, and the closest thing to peace we'd ever known. I kept working. Every day. Every night. I paid rent. I bought groceries. I made dinner. I helped her study. She was in her final years of school then. Exhausted, scared, always a little lost. I'd find her curled up with a textbook in her lap, fast asleep on the floor. I'd cover her with a blanket, clean up the table, and collapse on my own mattress, wondering if I'd make it another week. She graduated at 19, a year later than planned, but she did it. We celebrated with a frozen pizza and a bottle of soda. I watched her smile and realized this was the first time I'd seen her look proud of herself. She got a job, started paying a little toward the rent. It wasn't much, but it meant something, that she wanted to pull her weight. For a while, it felt like we were finally 2 people building something, not just one dragging the other. I thought, maybe now I can breathe. I still work like hell, but I began to think long-term. I enrolled in community college, nights and weekends, paid with what I could save. Classes were hard. I hadn't been a student in years. My body was always tired, my brain even more so. I failed a few quizzes, almost dropped out twice, but something in me refused. I had built my life on not giving up. I wasn't about to start now. She moved out at 21, found her own place, a little studio with mismatched furniture and chipped tile floors, but it was hers. Soon after, she moved in with her boyfriend. Then they got married. Suddenly, she had this whole other world, dinner parties, movie nights, couples vacations. I was happy for her, or at least I told myself I was. We still talked. She came by every few weeks. We'd eat pasta, talk about work, politics, gossip. It felt normal, and I didn't trust it. But I tried. I told myself, this is what you worked for. Let it be enough. And then, I graduated, got my degree, found a job in my field. It paid more than I'd ever made. The office had windows. My boss said things like career trajectory. I bought new clothes, started packing my lunch in glass containers. For the first time, I allowed myself to hope. I had plans, dreams even. Then the world stopped. 2020 hit like a fist to the chest. One day I was booking meetings, and the next I was told my contract was being cut. Nothing personal, they said. Budget issues. I was the newest hire. I was the first out. At first, I wasn't worried. I'd been through worse. I had a little money saved. I'd find something. But weeks passed. Then months. Nothing. Rent came due. Then again. The fridge was empty more often than not. I sold things. Skipped meals. Shut off the lights at night, just to stretch the electric bill. Then came the day I stared at the eviction notice taped to my door and realized I had one card left to play. Ask her. It killed me to do it. Not because of pride, though I had some, but because I had never asked her for anything. Not once. I had given her everything I had, and now I needed something. I messaged her, told her what happened, told her I'd lost a job, told her I was about to lose my place, asked if I could stay, not forever, just a few weeks, a month at most, just until I got back on my feet. She replied quickly, too quickly. No, I'm sorry. We can't do that. I stared at the message for 5 minutes. Read it again. And again. There were no follow-ups. No explanation. Just no. I thought maybe she didn't understand. Maybe she was stressed. Maybe her husband was the issue. I waited 2 days and wrote again. Please. I don't know where else to go. Another no. This time, it came with a longer message about how they were trying to keep their space private and things were complicated and I'd figure something out. I always do. I always do. That line stuck in my throat like a splinter. Like she was saying, you're the strong one. You don't need help. You never did. But I did. For the first time in my life, I did. A week later, I was sleeping on a friend's couch with a trash bag full of my belongings. She knew. She still said nothing. There's no such thing as a soft fall when you've always been the one holding the net for others. The eviction came quietly. No yelling. No drama. Just a piece of paper, a week's notice, and the metallic click of a mailbox that sealed my fate. I packed what I couldn't silence. A duffel bag, a trash bag, my laptop, and a few cracked dishes I couldn't part with. I left behind my bookshelf, my mattress, my plants. The landlord stood in the hallway with a clipboard and eyes that said, "You're not the first. You won't be the last." I sent one last message to my sister. Told her I was officially out, that I had nowhere to go, that I would sleep in my car, if I had one. She didn't reply. It's funny how fast the world shifts when you're homeless. Every bench becomes a bed. Every friend becomes a lifeline. Every hour becomes a countdown. I texted 3 people. All of them said yes. Without hesitation. Come crash here for a few days. We'll make room. I got you, bro. And none of them were family. First night, Max's couch. Crumbs in the cushions. Loud neighbors upstairs. And the buzz of the fridge louder than my thoughts. But I was inside. I was warm. Second week, Carla's living room floor. Air mattress with a slow leak. Her dog barked all night, mistaking me for an intruder. I didn't blame him. Third stop, Theo's spare room. A mattress on the floor and a shared closet. He gave me half a shelf in the fridge and didn't ask questions. I floated like that for over a month. A body without a bed. A name without an address. During the days, I looked for jobs. Anything. I applied to everything from warehouse shifts to grocery clerks. I stood in line for interviews with people 10 years younger than me, swallowing my pride like expired medicine. I shaved with cold water in borrowed bathrooms. $8 meals. Laughed at jokes that weren't funny, just so people wouldn't see how hollow I was getting. Some nights, I'd walk past couples through windows, candles, Netflix, takeout containers, and feel like I was watching a movie I'd been cut from. She never called. I imagined her, sitting in her warm apartment, maybe folding baby clothes, maybe texting friends about dinner plans, maybe wondering if she'd made the right choice, maybe not wondering at all. Sometimes, in the quiet of 3 a.m., I asked myself if I hated her. I didn't. Hate is heavy. I didn't have a strength for that. What I felt was something colder, like standing in a room you helped build and realizing you're not allowed inside. Eventually, I found a job. It wasn't what I'd studied for, but it was something. Temp contract at a local logistics firm. The pay was garbage, but meant I could stop crashing on couches. I found a room for rent with 3 strangers. One smoked indoors. One never flushed. One played death metal until 3 a.m. But it was mine. A door I could close. A bed I could collapse into. A window with half a view of the street. It wasn't much, but it was survival. And survival, that was something I knew better than most. Every day, I went to work, clocked in, kept my head down, stacked boxes, answered phones, smiled when I didn't want to, bit my tongue when clients yelled, came home to noise, to dirty dishes, to roommates who didn't care. But it was better than the couch, better than the cold, better than nothing. Still, the silence from her was louder than anything else. And then, she reached out. It started with a message, then a call, then a voice note, apologies, tears, explanations. But it was already too late. Nothing left. Forgiveness isn't always a door you can walk back through. Sometimes, it locks the moment you leave. The first message was short. I'm sorry. Please call me. I didn't. The second came with a voice note. Her voice was shaking, soft, filled with tears I couldn't see and didn't feel. I don't know how to fix this. I made a mistake. I panicked. He said no. I should have fought harder. Please, can we talk? I listened to it. Once. Then deleted it. Then came the texts, long paragraphs. Half explanations. Half prayers. I didn't realize how bad it was. I thought you'd land on your feet. I didn't know what to do. But that was the point, wasn't it? I didn't know what to do. I always knew what to do. For years, when she needed help, I moved. I worked. I fought. I protected. I figured it out. And the one time I was drowning, she stood still. Eventually, she came to my door. I didn't open it. She called my name, quietly at first, then louder, then crying. I sat on the other side, frozen, not angry, just detached, like watching a movie you've already seen too many times. You know how it ends. You don't need to see it again. She came back again, and again, left notes, flowers, cookies, handwritten letters. Then her husband messaged me. It was my decision, he wrote. I didn't want anyone in the house. I didn't understand. She begged me. She cried for days. I shut her down. I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I didn't believe it, but because I did. And it changed nothing. Because even if it was his voice that said no, it was her silence that echoed. Time passed. Life moved. I changed jobs. Got a better place. Moved into a studio apartment with working heat and walls I didn't have to share with strangers. I replaced my mattress. Bought new sheets. Hung a photo of the ocean. Something calm. Something far away. I was living. Not thriving. Not healed. Just alive. And that was enough. Then she had a baby. She sent pictures. A soft little face. A smile with barely their teeth. A caption. Your nephew wants to meet you someday. My heart didn't break. It didn't move at all. I read it. Closed it. Didn't reply. More photos came. Voice messages. Her husband again. He asks about you. We want you in his life. Please. I want to care. I really did. But I had nothing left to give them. Not love. Not hate. Not hope. Nothing. Puzzle piece, the one time I needed her. People love to talk about forgiveness. They say, you should forgive. Life is short. She's your sister. But what they never ask is, what did it cost you to always be the one who forgives? I gave her everything. My time. My safety. My childhood. My future. Every moment of mine was shaped around making sure she made it out. And when I needed one thing, not a lifetime, not a sacrifice, just one act of kindness, she couldn't or wouldn't. And that was all it took to end the story. No screaming, no explosions, just a quiet, final moment. Can I stay for a while? No, that's it. That was the end. I didn't slam the door. I didn't post angry rants. I didn't go to war. I just stepped out of the story and never went back.